So we've been on the road in the RV full time every night for 1 year and 2 weeks.
Right.
At the time of this recording.
Right.
That trip has taken us a bunch of places.
Yeah. 23 states.
23 states, yeah.
And we saw the Badlands, Yellowstone.
Mount Rushmore, the Pacific Ocean,
We
the
didn't
Atlantic
go to the
Ocean.
We didn't go to the Grand Canyon.
No, we're talking about the things we did see.
Right.
The Gulf of Mexico.
San Diego Zoo.
The Alamo. What else? Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho was beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a really beautiful state.
Yeah, we didn't think of Idaho as that.
And Utah. Utah was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Drove through Salt Lake City, but didn't really stop.
Salt Lake City was really neat because mountains on either side and just snow-capped at that time we were there.
But we couldn't find a good place to stay nearby.
Well,
right?
we were trying to get out of the cold.
That was also, but also it was just, seems like it was kind of, difficult. But anyway, yeah.
So it has taken us not all over the United States, but a good portion of it. I'll show you a map right now where we went and how that kind of happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, I think a lot of people want to know, like, how have we liked it?
Well, as you can see, the children aren't with us.
No, funny story. We actually tried to record this video with all 3 children, and it did not work well at all. Yeah. So we decided, you know what? It's going to be easier to just do it this way.
Yeah.
So
our 6-year-old didn't really want to sit there the whole time.
Which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to sit there and wait? You know, he was just having to wait for his turn to talk, and that was, not fun for him. So
we're here. Take 2.
There we go. But so overall, I would say this is like probably the coolest experience ever.
Yeah. I
mean, aside from like giving birth and all that stuff.
Right.
Having children, obviously.
A choice. Well, that was a choice, but
yeah.
A lifestyle choice.
As far as lifestyle choice, best one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Bar none.
Bar none.
I mean, the first lifestyle choice we chose was the regular, like, you get married, you have a house.
Yeah.
And all that. You have a job.
Right.
And then this one.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really great.
Right, yeah. I think it's exceeded my expectations on almost every level. I would say one thing that I think I had in my head, and then that it's just different, was I thought that there would be more just like gorgeous sights all the time. And you kind of have this thing, like when I first started thinking of RVing, I thought it'd be like every morning when you wake up, there's like this amazing vista. Yeah. And that's not the case.
Not always.
Not all. I mean, sometimes.
You can pick some places. But.
Yeah, but sometimes you're going to be in an RV park, like a private one, and there's going to be a camper right next to you. And despite that, still totally worth it, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, what you can do, people do that type of camping all the time, where they go out and they find these beautiful places. They always wake up to a vista. But, we do video editing on a desktop computer, so that means that our generator would have to be on to be running that electricity, because we don't have solar panels and all that stuff. But even though there haven't been, like, amazing views at every place we've been to a lot of beautiful places. Yeah. Campsites, and then just being close to those beautiful places.
Yeah.
And places that we never would have put on a list to go to our one vacation out of the year if we took a vacation that year.
Yeah. And I think the biggest surprise for me has been that the kids love it so much. I really thought that this is going to be something that was going to be like a huge transition.
Right.
Like I thought they won't really like it at first, and maybe they'll grow to tolerate it, but they've loved it. Yeah. And that has been really interesting to me.
Now, they were already homeschooling.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a transition that they had to make from regular school to homeschool. So they kind of kept that going.
Yeah.
They did have some friends and family where we were locally that we spent a good amount of time with, that they've had to like work through. But But it hasn't, even from the beginning, I don't think, been a, like, barrier to wanting to be out here.
No, and we asked them, because we always want to, like, I mean, ultimately, we are the parents, and we would decide. But we do ask them, like, do you guys want to keep doing this? Do you not? And they still do want to keep doing it. So,
yeah.
One thing in the beginning, though, was we all had breakdowns. So, like, in the first, I would say, two weeks.
I think it was actually like the first 3 days.
Well,
maybe
I
4.
mean, I think by the end of 2 weeks, everyone had their breakdown. But I think it was within the first few days, like, each person had just kind of like snapped and just like really upset and so, I mean, we, like, when we bought our RV, we had a couple of issues with like getting it registered. There was this whole hubbub, and that I think was probably my breakdown.
Yeah.
If I remember, I can't really remember, but I think that was my breakdown. Our son had a breakdown, like, just everything was changing, and he likes order. He likes to have his schedule, and it was just like everything had changed, and he just had this meltdown. But after that, he was fine. It was just like, got it out of his system, and then we went on. And then since then, there really hasn't been like a time where it's like, oh wow, everybody hates this.
Right. Yeah. And our oldest son is the one that had that breakdown.
Well, I was trying to keep him anonymous
about routine and all of that. So that's something that he's had to adjust to, because we make plans 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead sometimes, and you just have to go with it. And sometimes things change day to day, and he's learning to handle that, and he does fine.
So it was funny when we asked him what's your favorite thing about RVing, he said that you get to travel all the time, and his least favorite thing is that you're traveling all the time. So it's his most favorite and least favorite part, because he likes seeing new stuff, but he also really likes orders. So,
now,
which,
yeah, and that's understandable. But when we first started, we were doing like 3 days at a place, 4 days, something like that. At most, I think we were doing a week, but it seems like we were moving every couple of days.
Yeah.
And that was our choice, because we thought, all right, we're going to go see all these new different places.
Right.
But as time kind of went on, we decided, let's stretch that out a little bit. And now we stay about 2 weeks at a place. That's kind of our general plan. The only time we stayed longer than that was over Christmas in Arizona. We stayed 1 month at a park in Maricopa County, which was a nice park, but it was not our ideal place to be. But we like to move. But now we've kind of got that, we're 2 weeks at a place.
Yeah.
That gives us time to enjoy the location and catch up on work or whatever.
Yeah, the reason why we were moving a lot in the beginning was because the weekends were always full.
Yeah.
So in Florida, that would have been April, it's just full on the weekends. We didn't have reservations, so we had to keep moving frequently. But definitely moving about every 2 weeks seems to be perfect, as far as that nice balance between being productive but not, like, we're so tired of being here.
So things that we have realized throughout the year, and when I say realized, I mean that have happened, is that our family has certainly gotten closer. We were close already. We were, in the house all the time together, working and doing school and having our regular sleep on the couch night on Saturday nights, family time on the weeknights, things like that. But when you take a family of 5 and you put them into like a 300 square foot room, and where you can be at all the time, like especially if it's raining or too hot or something like that, you either grow closer together or alienate everybody. But we have definitely grown closer together. Whenever one of the kids is having an issue, we all talk about it when they're comfortable all talking about it. Otherwise, they'll come to one of us. But it has really been a neat thing to see, even with our 12-year-old son.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things I learned right off the bat, was when we were living in a regular house, a lot of times I would just assume that I would kind of just think that I knew who was causing problems, or, like who started stuff. And I would just kind of assume these things. But when you're in such a small space, you can really start to understand who the instigator is, and it's not always who you might think. And so that was kind of eye-opening for me, just to kind of know, like, oh, sometimes it is the little one who's really causing the problem, or the older one, or or the middle one, which is sometimes not something I thought. So but yeah, and you definitely do have to work out things quicker. I feel like
Yeah.
in an RV, it's like you are just more in tune with what's going on.
You can't really go back into your room and close the door and just shut everybody out.
Well, you can, and I do
Well,
that sometimes.
our room, but the kids don't have one.
Right, yeah. But yeah, just being around each other all the time, it is, yeah, you just are naturally more in tune, I think.
So another thing that we have learned is that this type of lifestyle has opened up all sorts of freedom. Freedom to choose all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
Freedom in our thoughts about ideas and how life can be, and different things like that. It's shown us about location-independent income and different ways to work.
Yeah, I think that was something, it's like, when you're, like, before you start it, you I kind of thought, it seemed like a pipe dream. Like, we're going to get out there, maybe we'll make it for a little while, but we'll probably have to end up doing something. Like, like, as far as income goes, we really didn't have anything figured out very much in the beginning. You were doing real estate still, and so that's why we stayed around in Florida, so that he could work real estate while we were trying to figure out how else to make income. So in the process of time, we figured out those things, and now we have a consistent income that's actually coming in, that is completely providing for our costs, which, by the way, are not that much cheaper than dwelling, like a physical location. I would say it's about the same. Like, yeah, I would say it is the same. Like, what we were spending before is pretty much the same on the road, because we don't boondock, because we can't really be out in the middle of nowhere untethered. Some people like that lifestyle, and I do see the draw to it, but that's just not what works with our income right now. So yeah,
when our gray tanks fill up every 2 to 3 days, that's another thing.
Yeah, like a family of 5 in a Class C, it just, our gray tanks filling up pretty quickly, and so yeah, I think it works for us, but it's just something that, based on our realities, that's what we have to do. So our costs do have to be higher, and plus we enjoy state parks, and sometimes those can actually be, well, I mean, we don't want to do like the thousand trails thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we love privacy and that's
nature.
been a thing to learn too, is that there are differences when it comes to, you can have more privacy with state parks and stuff like that. Sometimes that comes at a cost of actual cost, and because, I mean, some of the parks are real, like the private parks, some of them are really cheap, but then they're right next to, I mean, like, the spaces are really tight, and you might have full hookups, but then, it's just like, it's always a trade-off, but it does cost more, a little bit more, I think. Sometimes you get off cheaper, but,
And it's not cut and dry as far as a state park is going to offer more privacy. Sometimes they are right on top of each other. Yeah. But if you can find good ones, those are always...
Yeah, just in general, we've not yet been to a private park where there was more privacy.
No.
Any privacy.
Not at all.
At all. And when it comes to freedom, another kind of thing we had to start thinking about differently, I think there's a pressure that you can put on yourself. It's not that other people are necessarily pressuring you, but when you get out on the road, everybody's like, oh, you should go here, and you've got to see this, that, or the other. And you can start to put a lot of pressure on yourself to make, like, travel more, more miles and go see more things than maybe you want to. And so that's been something I've learned this past year. Our kids don't really enjoy museums that often. Occasionally they do, but they prefer parks. They prefer just getting outside and doing, sorry, there's an ant. But they prefer beaches, yeah, swimming pools, things really a lot of times that are free, as opposed to going to the museum, because what happens then is you take a day, you maybe spend a lot of money. It kind of depends on the attraction or whatever, and then then you've got all that pressure. We better enjoy this because we just spent a lot of money, and we've, spent the time driving. A lot of times we would be out from the place, so it takes time to drive to the place, and so it puts more pressure and just more stress in general. And so just learning, what do we actually prefer? It doesn't really matter what everybody else thinks or says, or tries to make seem like is the thing to do, and just doing what we like to do. And that's been a process of learning.
Yeah, you may find that you want to stay in a place for 2 months and visit all of the local attractions. That's just not us.
Ours. Yeah, like two weeks and I'm done. But
yeah, any longer than that, it starts to feel like we're just living in a motorhome.
And yeah, so that was something when we first started. We didn't want to have debt on the RV, and so we made some compromises on that. Like, we got a used one, and it was a Class C. And there is that temptation when you first start out to get the Mac Daddy everything, but our mindset from the beginning was, we don't want to be like living in an RV. That's not the point. The point is what the RV can get you to. Like,
use it as a tool.
Yeah, use it as a tool to get you to the places you want to be able to travel and all that stuff. So that's something that I'm always trying to remind myself is get outside and go look at the stuff that you're actually traveling around to go see. It can't, because you can kind of get into a rut of, you wake up, you do your work, you don't really ever go outside, just like you do in a house, like
right.
if you work from home especially. So, not having it be like that we're living in an RV. It's just we full-time RV, and we just, that's like a compromise you make for being able to travel full-time.
Yeah, and one thing to note is that you'll likely have issues with a new RV or a used RV, and I've even heard a lot more complaints from people that I've spoken to at like dump stations who bought something brand new and it has some terrible problem or something like that. So in our instance, we bought it was a 2006 and we bought it in 2018. So 12 years old, and we've been super blessed.
Yeah.
It's been a great quality RV with very few issues. So I think when you're shopping for one, just look for something that's quality. And, it's possible that if you get something that's used and someone's actually put through not through the ringer, but has gone out and tested it and used it, then at least you can find out some of the things that may end up being wrong with it.
Yeah, and I mean, we did have repairs that we made, and I think that helps. Like, if you're going out on the road or thinking about it, expect repairs, whether you get a new one or a used one, and know that will play into your day. So, like, especially when we first started out, and I guess that's just to be expected when you get something that's used, but like, we had to deal with the refrigerator, the air conditioning. We were able to fix the things, but it happens. Like, and instead of like being upset that it happens, just expect it to happen and be really patient, because it's gonna take you a lot longer the first time, and you may not have data signal. I remember, like, we had a problem with the refrigerator right off the bat, and so I had to learn about how it even worked, because it's on propane and it's on electrical. But also, I'm trying to look at videos, and we were not in a spot that had good video signal or a good data signal. So it was just a whole process. But if you just expect that and know that that's going to happen, and then just say, you can figure it out. Everything, you can just figure it out as you go. But
so now we are in what we're calling RV 2.0 or full-time RV 2.0. Our first year, we were really out there trying to figure out how we were going to make a living on the road. And
which is stressful, by the way. I mean, like, if you don't have a plan, I mean, everybody, I think, would probably advise you, like, have a plan before you go out. And I think it's good to have a plan.
Yeah.
We really didn't. We knew we had plenty of skills that we could do on the road. We just didn't know how it was all going to, like, really work out for us.
And for us, it kind of took us getting out to really start doing the things that we need to do.
Yeah, to force us to actually start doing those things, to push us outside of our comfort zone and that kind of thing. So anyway,
So now that first time, we got out and we saw some of those things that we wanted to see along the way. Like the main push last year was for Yellowstone. We really wanted to see it, so we did. We got there. We got to spend the time. But now we are using this second time. I guess we'll call it a second time. I don't know, the beginning of the second year, to focus on local areas that we're at, just kind of seeing some of the lifestyle around. So we're trying at each place we're at least taking one day as an exploration day to go out and see, not necessarily the sights, but just to see what that area is like. What is the community like? What local things do people see and do? And I think it's going to be exciting and informative, especially now that we're on the East Coast, which there's a lot of history there, so that'll be neat to find.
So as to the question of whether we're going to keep doing this or not, the answer is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
From both the two of us and our three kids are all on board. They love it. The only downside is they miss family sometimes. I mean, they miss family all the time, obviously. But that's something you have to learn how to deal with pretty much. Like in our case, even when we lived in one state, we had out-of-state family on the other side.
Right.
So.
And will there be an RV 3.0? We don't know. How long will 2.0 go? We don't know.
No.
At this point, we just like to continue doing what we're doing until we see something that might be better or different or new.
Yeah.
Maybe not even better, just different.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we're flexible.